Hi friends, how are you? Today I am going to narrating a story about my own life, autobiography. How did I work as a compounder? Completely, it is ridiculous and it's very funny sometimes when I recall those days. It was my first job in my life. When I came from village, one of my sisters, my elder sister, she was married, and her relatives used to live here in Delhi, Okla Phase 1. And my sister was still in village when I came here. That time, what happened that my father and mother, they used to do the work. My father had not any stable job and my mother used to do the job. Before my elder sister's marriage, you can say, she used to also do the job in one of the company with my mother. It was the first visit after my at the age of my adolescence. My one of the aunt, she brought me as well as my elder sister together here. As I was the candidate of 10th student, it was the time of 2000. Yes, I think 2000. It was the time of 2000. I was rarely 11 or 12 years old. That time, I think that I was the candidate of 10th, and I had to face 2 and 3 years relaxation, not relaxation, you can say. I had to increase my age there when I had the registration in the 10th class, because the high school headmaster forbade me for filling of the form there, because I was not fulfilling the standard criteria of the Bihar government candidate of class 10th. I must have been, I think, at the age of 15, but I was 11 and 12 years only old that time. When I came here, my parents thought that I would also be in job, and I would discontinue my study. I could have discontinued my study. So again, I went back to my village. My elder sister and my mother and father, they kept on doing the work. My father had been ill. He was not well properly in those days, I think. And at the time when I was in village, my elder sister was married in Delhi. When I passed out from 10th class, my elder sister went to village for celebration of the festivals, which is celebrated on the ground of the Mithilanchal society there. That time my elder sister and her relative was present there. And when I think it was the month of August or July or August, yes. I again saw there was so much quarrel in the family members. There was so much politics in the families. There was so much ups and down in the families. It was undecided. It was completely under consideration for my future higher education, like intermediate classes and graduation classes. My father and mother, they were not completely successful for my higher education. They efforted, they endeavored, they tried to do the best to their best level. But my grandfather was he was a very loved one for my life, and he also tried to do the same. But due to the family politics, it was decided that I should not have been in the village. So what did I do? I again came back from the village and I shifted in Delhi there. That time I used to live in Okla Phase 1, Tekhand, Delhi. My one of the aunt, she used to live me. I would not explain about her and other family members. They are just because I would just tell you in other parts of the videos. I would only tell you that how did I just join for the compounding there. What happened that I used to have one single room. My parents used to uh, uh, live there, and there was intense heat during summer. So my parents used to tell me that there was a factory in which I think there were the fabricators. The work of a stitching department was going on there, and the owner used to visit sometimes there. There was the place to sleep properly. There was much room. So I went there and I used to sleep. What happened that one of the compounder used to visit sometimes or the other, and he got proper training from Delhi Govindpuri. Because I was good at English, so I decided to start the job as a compounder. I thought that in the village, I also saw earlier that whoever had some technical or some skillful work, she was successful. So what happened that I requested him to get for proper training at the same clinic where he got his earlier training. He completely accepted my request, and he told me that you need to just come with the 10th mark sheet. I went with my 10th mark sheet. My father was with me, and I think street number or gully number 1, Govindpuri, Delhi. The doctor's name is Dr. Harbhajan Singh. He accepted my request, and that time he decided 900 salary per month for me. I had to live there from a morning, I think 8 a.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. at night. I used to also get 5 rupees for bus fare, 2 rupees up and 2 rupees down from Okla Tekhand to here Govindpuri. And it was decided that the 5 rupees would be deducted at the end of the month when I would get my salary. All of a sudden, my parents shifted from Okla Phase 1 to Noida, and I started living with one of the boy who was completely ignorant. He was clumsy, he was careless, and I had to live with him. And my aunt and uncle, they used to live in Okla at the same place. I also met my uncle that time. I told him my problem, but he refused he refused himself to keep me with them. They told me that somehow you have to manage for your life, and you have to leave the person your parents decided. Your parents have left you here, and your parents should have decided where you should live. We can't decide. Your parents have shifted to Noida. You should also shifted to Noida, and you should not ask us that how should I live there, how should I have been there. And my uncle and aunt, they did not just help me in the need of hour that time. I was in the urgent need of hour those days, because I was working as a compounder in those days. And I thought that after having the proper 5 or 10 years training, I could be a good compounder. I could also organize for my higher education, and I could have the proper training from there. Unfortunately, my uncle and aunt, they were present there. Because my parents left me, I could not do the same, because I was a child that time. I was even not an adolescent, you can say properly. That time what happened that the person with whom I was shifted in the same room, I told you earlier that he was completely careless. I used to cook the food. I used to just prepare bread, and I was completely unskilled in such homework, and all the household chores I had to do myself. I had to also wash his clothes. I had to wash his utensils. I had to cook the food on stoves. In those days, gas cylinder was not available. I think stoves were available in which kerosene oil was poured into, and there was the pin, safety pin, in which with which I think there was the clearance of the open mouth from where there was the flame of the stove. And I think that I used to cook the food the way I had, because I was completely skilled in such tasks. He used to scold me, he used to abuse me, and he used to not love me as the dearest or nearest ones. What happened that it was the evening time. I did not have the money. It was the time when because I was a child, I could not decide that what was the right, what was the wrong. And the person who was with me, he did not even inspire me, he did not even motivate me, or he always used to discourage me. He told me, Chandan, Chotu, a small boy, you need to pay the money, because now we don't have the ration in our room. We don't have the rice, we don't have the pulse, we don't have the vegetables, and we can't wait for your monthly salary. You must ask doctor for your advance payment. What happened that it was, I think, at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. I think I called from the PCO calling center. In those days, PCO study was so, STD I think was so much prevalent. There were several small cabins available throughout the country. From there you could call on the basis of the per second or per minute charges in those days. So I called, because I had the number of his house. I called. The doctor told me, son, beta, come tomorrow, I will give you money. I could not understand his language, that he was angry or he felt my problem, what kind of problem I was facing myself. I went the following day, and when I went, a doctor came. He came down from the stair. He went in his own cabin, in which he used to sit and used to check out the patients. The earlier compounder, they were just practicing. I think 1 and 2 more compounders were already available in those days. So doctor at first called that compounder and told to call me as well. I went together with that compounder to the doctor cabin. Doctor told me that this is your money and you should leave my clinic as soon as possible. I regretted myself. I requested many times to the doctor that I was in the need of hour and I needed the money. I also told him to forgive me. I apologized many times that I was in the need of hour. This is why I called you at night, last night. What happened that doctor was angry with me, because he told me that when I was with him 10 to 12 hours, why did not report him, why did not complain him of that, why did that I did not have the money. But it was the all of a sudden plan. My roommate, he told me to call him. I did not think that such matter would take so much wrong step in my life. After several time request, when doctor told me that I would not let you leave even a single minute, just take your money, he deducted all the bus fare, he paid me. He told me just leave the clinic as soon as it is possible. I started weeping. I started weeping because I was a child. The tear was just rolling down from my both of the eyes. The tear was rolling down. The drops of the tear used to just fall down on my left and right chest here. Both of my cheeks were wet due to the tear, because I had not much possibility and experience in the market. Where should I go and where should I do the job? I even knew that my parents are in Noida, but I did not know the location where it was the parent. What happened that I used to have the lunch. In those days, I still remember that I had only single shirt and single pant. And 1 month, what happened that whenever the shirt and pant used to have the dirtiness, that time I used to just wash them, and somehow I used to just put it on or wear it. Govindpuri, if you must have seen the Govindpuri. There was I think the rag picker's house. Nowadays it is very neat and clean, but in those days there was some channels, water channels. Somewhere the water was the leakage, somewhere the water pipe was not in the strong position. The water used to come out, and we used to have the lunch over there. I had the lunch in one of a tiffin there. It was so much small and it was so much thin, not very thick. I think I purchased, I think, 100 gram curd from one of the confectioner or the sweets, and from there I had the 2 and 3 bread. The bread was completely burnt due to the high heat of the flame on the stove, and it was so much strong that I was not even able to break it with my strong teeth. I started taking both curd and bread and started eating somehow. A little bit sugar I also mixed it up with the curd. When I started tearing it with my teeth, what happened that I don't know that from where my mother came. All of a sudden I became so much happy that my mother came, and I started weeping again as a 6-year-old boy. Still, whenever I just remember those days, I again think that I should again weep for those spent days. My mother hugged me. My mother threw a little tiffin into the air. My mother threw both the breads. Those breads were burnt due to the high heat on the stove. My mother hugged me lovingly, and my mother also started weeping with me. Such heart-rending situation was going on at that moment. My mother took me to herself, and she took me to a hotel nearby, and there she told me to eat whatever you can eat that was available in the hotel, because I used to live somehow on the bread and the curd most of the time. Most of the time I did not have the bread even to or rice to eat. That time what did I do? That I used to purchase bread. It was completely thick, so much thick. It was so much soft, and it was easy to be chewable. So what happened that I used to purchase them. It was, I think, costed 1 rupee or 2 rupees. That was much cost, I think, and it used to have the complete stomach whenever I used to just devour it into my stomach. When I went to the hotel, when I see all the food and beverages over there, I became so much happy, because I was with my mother, and she told me that you have all the things here, so you can just ask for eating anything. But I think that before that, in those days, Pepsi was so much famous, and it was the nightmare for me that I used to have the Pepsi, 1 or 2 Pepsi. My relative used to come and they used to provide me 1 or 2. That was the nightmare in those days. And Coca-Cola was another one. I think was completely substitution for the Pepsi. I ate whatever I could in the hotel. My mother kept on watching into my little eyes, face, my cheeks. She used to just touch my cheek. She used to just touch my head. She used to just touch my hair. She used to just she kept on just soothing my hair, my ears, my lips, everything a mother does for her child. She did the same thing. So after then, she told me to come and board on the bus. I came with my mother and boarded on the bus. The bus started from, I think, Khadar More. From after, if you pass from railway track of Okhla phase 1, then you will just completely cross to Khadar More, that is very near to Sarta Vihar. And from there, bus number 8 was from Noida, that place to Noida. My mother just boarded with me and we came together happily here. The thing is completely unforgettable. I would never forget in my life. This is why most of the time I tell my children and students that the time never waits for time, and tide never waits for you. You should never waste your time. Whatever the time has been provided for you, but that you have been naturally provided all these things. Your parents are providing you all such facilities, and you should never wander from your facilities, whatever you have been provided. You should never think that tomorrow you would do whatever you have the facility. You should take advantage of all such facilities today. You should never think that you have much time and you do in future. You must do today. You start do today, and you think that you can do because you have all the facilities, you have all the advantages have been provided by your parents. So I think it is so much for today, and thank you so much for us, and we will just again join with other parts of the videos with a new topic that may be also based on my autobiography, and this autobiography may also motivate you a lot.